Hello and welcome to Defense Dynamics. I am Danveer Singh coming to you from New Delhi. In an era where military power is increasingly being defined by technology, speed of innovation, and industrial capacity, India's defense ecosystem is entering a decisive phase. From developing indigenous fighter jet engines and expanding the Indian Navy into a formidable blue water force to building hypersonic maritime strike capabilities, the nation is steadily laying the foundation for next generation of military power. So in this episode, we examine how Kaveri 2.0 could bring India closer to self-reliance in aero engines, why the Indian Navy's expansion plan to 200 warships is vital amidst China's growing maritime presence, and how the 1500-kilometer long-range anti-ship hypersonic missile could dramatically extend India's maritime reach across the Indo-Pacific. And in my take, we ask an important question. Can India accelerate the AMCA program by learning from Khan fighter? We explore why parallel prototypes, interim engines, and greater role for private sector could help transform innovation into operational capability. But first, the global defense headlines. DRDO is prioritizing advanced electronics to support the Indian Armed Forces expanding space requirements. The technologies are aimed at enhancing surveillance, communication and position, navigation and timing capabilities. The United Kingdom has ordered 72 Rheinmetall 155 mm weapon systems for its RCH-155 self-propelled howitzers, with deliveries planned from year 2028 to 2031 under a nearly £1 billion army program. Japan has successfully conducted its first Tomahawk cruise missile firing from JM-SDF destroyer JS Chokai with US naval support. The test marks a key step in Japan's effort to build long-range standoff defense capabilities. The NH-90 Block 1 helicopter has completed its maiden test flight. The upgraded version features Link 22, advanced sensors and improved sonar. It also adds enhanced navigation and new weapon integration. The upgrades boost surveillance and maritime combat capabilities. South Korea has awarded Hanwha Ocean the contract to design and build the lead ship of its KDDX next generation destroyer program. The 6,500-ton Aegis-equipped warship is scheduled for delivery to the Navy in the year 2032. One of India's biggest technological challenges has always been developing an indigenous fighter jet engine. While the originally Kaveri engine could not meet the thrust requirements for Tejas light combat aircraft, the program actually never ended. Now, the Gas Turbine Research Establishment, or the GTRE, is working on an ambitious roadmap for Kaveri 2.0, featuring an all-new engine core that could eventually replace the American GE F404 engine powering the Tejas Mk1A during its mid-life upgrade. If realized, it could mark a historic milestone in India's quest for self-reliance in military aviation. Why the Kaveri program matters. For decades, India has successfully designed fighter aircrafts, missiles, radars, and sophisticated avionics. Yet, the most complex component of modern combat aircraft is the jet engine that has remained dependent on foreign suppliers. The Kaveri engine program, which began in the late 1980s with a vision of powering the light combat aircraft. However, despite years of development, the engine fell short of the thrust and performance required for frontline fighter operations. Even so, the program generated valuable expertise in compressor design, turbine technology, combustion system, high temperature materials and digital engine control systems. This is the knowledge that now forms the foundation of next generation effort. Enter Kaveri 2.0. GTRE is now proposing a new generation engine core rather than simply upgrading the existing Kaveri. The objective is to develop a modern turbofan capable of delivering performance comparable to the GE F404, which powers the Tejas Mk1A. Unlike the original design, Kaveri 2.0 is expected to incorporate advanced high-pressure compressor technology, improved combustion efficiency, higher turbine inlet temperatures, single crystal turbine blades, advanced thermal barrier coatings, state-of-the-art full authority digital control engine, improved thrust to weight ratio and fuel efficiency. The new core would also provide a technological bridge towards future engines of AMCA and other indigenous combat aircrafts. Why midlife upgrade makes sense? Rather than replacing F404 immediately, planners are examining the possibility of integrating Kaveri 2.0 during the Tejas Mk1A mid-life upgrade. This approach offers several advantages. It provides GTRE additional time to mature the engine through extensive ground and flight testing. It also avoids disrupting current Tejas production while allowing the Indian Air Force to adopt an indigenous engine only after it has demonstrated proven reliability. By the time the first Mk1A aircraft undergo their MLU or the midlife upgrade in the next decade, Kaveri 2.0 could be ready for operational induction if development progresses as planned. The strategic importance. An indigenous engine would transform India's aerospace ecosystem. It would reduce dependence on overseas suppliers, eliminate vulnerabilities arising from sanctions or export controls, strengthen India's defense industrial base, and create sovereign capability in one of the world's most advanced technologies. The experience gained would also directly benefit future programs, including Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft or the AMCA, Twin Engine Deck-Based Fighter or the TEDBF, Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle or UCAVs, and future transport and unmanned aircrafts. Few nations possess the capability to design and manufacture modern fighter engines. Joining that club would represent a strategic leap for India. The challenges ahead. Despite the optimism, significant challenges remain. Developing a modern fighter engine requires mastery over advanced metallurgy, precision manufacturing, high temperature materials, turbine cooling technologies, and years of rigorous testing under extreme operating conditions. Engine development is often described as one of the most demanding engineering disciplines in the world, requiring sustained investment and long-term commitment. Success will depend not only on GTRE and DRDO, but also on close collaboration with Indian industry, academia, and international technology partners where appropriate. The story of Kaveri has often been portrayed as one of missed expectations, but just view it differently. It's actually a story of persistence and technological learning. With Kaveri 2.0, India is not merely attempting to build another jet engine, it is seeking to master one of the last frontiers of aerospace technology. If GTRE succeeds, the Tejas Mk1A could one day fly with an engine designed, developed and built entirely in India, thus bringing the vision of true Atma-Nirbhar Bharat in military aviation significantly closer. The Indian Navy is preparing for its biggest expansion since independence. With China's People's Liberation Army Navy or the PLAN, now the world's largest navy, is increasing its deployments in the Indian Ocean region by the day. New Delhi is also accelerating its plan. Now it desires to build a 200 warship force over the next decade. This expansion goes beyond the numbers. It is about ensuring maritime dominance, protecting India's sea lane of communication and securing India's strategic interests from Persian Gulf to the Malacca Strait.
Why the expansion? The maritime balance in the Indo-Pacific is changing rapidly. China today possesses more than 370 battle force ships and is commissioning new destroyers, frigates, submarines and aircraft carriers at an unprecedented pace. Chinese research vessels, intelligence ships, submarine deployments have become increasingly frequent in the Indian Ocean. At the same time, Pakistan is modernizing its fleet with Chinese-built frigates, submarines and long-range anti-ship missiles. For India, safeguarding nearly 95% of its trade by volume and securing its exclusive economic zone has become a strategic necessity. The 200-ship vision. Indian Navy currently operates around 130 to 140 ships, but the long-term objective is to expand the fleet to nearly 200 warships. Several major platforms are already under construction or in advanced planning stages. That includes Nilgiri class Project 17 Alpha stealth frigates, next generation corvettes, Project 75I conventional submarines, nuclear powered attack submarines or the SSNs, next generation destroyers, fleet support ships, mine countermeasure vessels and indigenous aircraft carriers under future planning. This expansion will significantly enhance India's blue water capability and its ability to sustain operations across the Indo-Pacific. Indigenous shipbuilding takes the center stage. One of the most significant aspects of this expansion is that most new platforms will be built in India. Shipyards including Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited or the MDL, Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers GRSE, Cochin Shipyard Limited or the CSL, Goa Shipyard Limited GSL, Hindustan Shipyard Limited HSL. They are expected to play a vital central role. This indigenous approach supports the government's Atmanirbhar Bharat vision, creates highly skilled employment, strengthens India's defense industrial ecosystem, and reduces dependence on foreign suppliers. Preparing for future naval warfare. The future fleet is expected to be built around network-centric warfare. The key capabilities include carrier battle groups, long-range anti-ship missiles, unmanned surface vessels, underwater drones, AI-enabled combat management systems, integrated maritime surveillance, long-endurance naval helicopters, multi-domain operations linking space, cyber, and underwater warfare. The Indian Navy is also integrating indigenous systems such as BrahMos, long-range surface-to-air missiles or the LR-AShMs, MF Star radars, and advanced electronic warfare suites. The strategic implications. The expansion is not aimed at matching China ship for a ship. Instead, India seeks to maintain credible maritime superiority in the Indian Ocean region while remaining a reliable security provider for friendly nations. A stronger Indian Navy will protect critical sea lanes of communication, secure island territories, enhance deterrence, strengthen Quad cooperation, and enable rapid humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations across the region.
History has shown that nations aspiring to global influence must first secure their surrounding seas. As China's maritime footprint continues to expand, India's response is clear: not merely building more ships, but creating a technology, advanced, indigenous, and networked navy capable of protecting national interests well into the future. India is steadily building the capability to dominate the Indian Ocean, not through a large navy, but through long-range and faster weapons. One of the most ambitious projects under development is the long-range anti-ship missile, or the LR-AShM. It's a hypersonic weapon reportedly capable of striking enemy warships at ranges up to 1500 kilometers. If it is inducted, the LR-AShM will dramatically expand India's maritime engagement envelope, allowing the armed forces to hold hostile navy assets at risk long before they come within the striking distance of India's coastline or carrier battle groups.
A new generation of maritime strike weapons. Modern naval warfare is increasingly defined by who can detect, target, and strike first. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, and amphibious assault ships are protected by layered air defense systems that can intercept conventional anti-ship missiles. To overcome these defenses, navies are investing in hypersonic weapons that combine extreme speed, high maneuverability, and long range. India's long-range anti-ship missile is expected to travel at hypersonic speeds, making interception significantly more difficult and drastically reducing an adversary's reaction time. Expanding India's maritime reach. With an extended range of 1,500 kilometers, the missile would enable the Indian Navy to engage hostile naval formations far beyond the traditional battle space. Such a capability would allow India to deny hostile fleets access to critical sea lanes, protect carrier battle groups from standoff distances, secure vital sea lanes of communication or the SLOCs, project power deep into Indian Ocean region, and strengthen deterrence against extra-regional naval deployments. In practical terms, adversary warships could be held at risk even before they approach India's primary maritime operating areas. Multi-platform launch capability. One of the missile's greatest strength is expected to be its flexibility. The long-range anti-ship missile could eventually be launched from Indian Navy's destroyers and frigates, future submarines, long-range maritime patrol aircrafts, and land-based mobile coastal batteries. Future integration with platforms such as P-8I, next-generation naval combatants, or even strategic bombers if required, would create a truly multi-domain maritime strike capability. Strategic impact in the Indo-Pacific. China's People's Liberation Army Navy is expanding its presence in Indian Ocean through overseas bases, dual-use ports, and regular deployment of carrier strike groups, submarines, and intelligence-gathering vessels. A 1,500-kilometer hypersonic anti-ship missile would significantly strengthen India's anti-access area denial or A2AD strategy by forcing hostile naval forces to operate much farther from the Indian waters. Combined with BrahMos, carrier aviation, maritime surveillance satellites, P-8I type aircrafts, and underwater sensors, the long-range anti-ship missile would become a critical component of India's layered maritime deterrence architecture. Technology driving the future. Developing a hypersonic anti-ship missile requires mastery over several advanced technologies including hypersonic propulsion, precision guidance and navigation, high-temperature materials, advanced seekers capable of tracking moving ships, secure data links for mid-course target updates, and terminal maneuvering to defeat modern naval air defense systems. These technologies are expected to build upon India's growing expertise in hypersonic propulsion and long-range precision strike systems.
For decades, India's maritime strategy has focused largely on defending its coastline. Today, that strategy is evolving towards sea control and long-range maritime denial. The proposed 1,500-kilometer LR-AShM represents more than just another missile. It signals India's determination to shape the security architecture of Indian Ocean and the wider Indo-Pacific. In the future, India's naval strength will be measured not only by the number of ships it sails, but by the distance at which it can detect, deter, and if necessary, strike any hostile force. Innovation alone is not enough. India must win the race from prototype to production. India has never lacked engineering talent, whether it is the Tejas fighter, BrahMos missile, Aryan submarine, or Chandrayaan missions. Indian scientists have repeatedly demonstrated that they can build world-class technology. Yet one challenge continues to haunt many strategic programs: the long gap between innovation and operational induction. Now, Turkey's fifth-generation Khan fighter offers an important lesson. Despite having smaller aerospace ecosystem than India, Turkey has adopted an aggressive development strategy that prioritizes speed, industrial participation, and parallel development. The question is not whether India should copy Turkey. Rather, the question is what lessons can India's Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft or the AMCA program can learn from it. Build multiple flying prototypes in parallel. The traditional approach of developing one or two prototypes sequentially often slows testing. Turkey's Khan program has planned multiple flying prototypes, each dedicated to different aspects of development: flight characteristics, avionics, weapons integration, and systems validation. India should adopt a similar strategy. Instead of relying on a limited number of aircraft, AMCA development could accelerate through parallel prototype production, allowing multiple flight test campaigns to proceed simultaneously. This would compress development timelines while identifying technical issues much earlier. Don't wait for perfect engine. One of the biggest concerns surrounding AMCA is the timeline for Indigenous 120 kilonewton engine being co-developed with international partners. Now Turkey has taken a pragmatic route. Khan's initial prototypes are flying with proven imported engines, while Indigenous engine continues development in parallel. India should follow the same philosophy. The first AMCA squadrons are already planned around GF414 engine. That decision should be viewed as a strategic advantage rather than a compromise. Waiting for a perfect engine before flying the aircraft would only delay induction. The Indigenous engine can be integrated during later production blocks, just as software and sensor upgrades are introduced throughout an aircraft's service life. Expand the role of the private sector. Another major lesson comes from the industrial organizations. Turkey's aerospace program has benefited from close collaboration between government agencies and private defense companies. India already possesses a capable private industrial base. Companies such as Tata Advanced Systems, Larsen & Toubro, Mahindra Defence, Bharat Forge, Dynamatic Technologies, and several aerospace MSMEs have demonstrated world-class manufacturing capabilities. The AMCA program should evolve beyond a single system integrator model. Private companies should become prime manufacturing partners responsible for complete fuselage sections, wings, mission systems, composite structures, and final assembly lines. Design for production, not just demonstration. India has often celebrated successful prototypes, but prototypes do not defend a nation. Squadrons do. The transition from prototype to serial production requires supply chains, vendor ecosystems, manufacturing automation, and long-term procurement planning. Production planning must begin while testing is still underway, not after certification. The objective should be clear: develop and manufacture simultaneously. Time is becoming a strategic capability. China continues to induct fifth-generation fighters in increasing numbers. Pakistan is expected to modernize its air force over the coming decade. The Indo-Pacific security environment is evolving faster than ever before, and in this environment, speed becomes a strategic capability. The nation that can design, test, manufacture, and induct advanced systems faster gains a decisive military advantage. For AMCA, compressing development timelines by even 3 or 4 years could significantly strengthen India's future air power. In conclusion, Turkey's Khan program does not diminish India's technological achievements, nor should it be viewed as a model to replicate blindly. India's aerospace ambitions are larger and more complex. However, Khan demonstrates that parallel development, pragmatic engine choices, strong private sector participation, and production-oriented planning can substantially accelerate a strategic program. India already possesses a scientific capability to build world-class fifth-generation fighter. The challenge now is organizational. Because in modern defense, innovation alone is not enough. The true measure of national power lies in how quickly a prototype becomes a combat-ready squadron. India's strategic future will not be determined by ambition alone, but by the ability to convert ideas into operational capability. Whether it is indigenous jet engines, advanced warships, hypersonic missiles, or fifth-generation fighters, the real challenge lies in delivering these systems to the armed forces on time, at scale, and with technological excellence. As global competition intensifies, the countries that master the journey from research to production will define the future balance of power. For India, the objective is clear: to become not only a designer of advanced military technologies, but also a nation capable of manufacturing and fielding them rapidly and independently. So that's all for this edition of Defense Dynamics. Thank you for watching. See you next week with new stories and their analysis. Goodbye and take care.